Fresh off a new multi-year contract extension that has enabled him to race in the NASCAR Cup Series division for years to come, Shane van Gisbergen extended his road course dominance and capped off a strategically dominant run in the 2025 Go Bowling at the Glen by winning for a fourth time this season on Sunday, August 10th. Good evening, race fans and motorsports enthusiasts around the world. My name is Andrew Kim, and this is Retro Motor Vibes, where I highlight anniversary stories and race analyses of motorsports events near and far. For tonight, here's a full breakdown of the NASCAR Cup Series action at Watkins Glen International, a 2.45-mile 7-turn road course venue in Watkins Glen, New York. Without further ado, let's break the event down. The event's starting lineup was determined through a single-round qualifying format that occurred on Saturday, August 9th. The format involved all entered competitors being split into two qualifying groups and given 20 minutes to post the fastest lap over one another prior to the time's expiration. At the conclusion of Saturday's qualifying session, Ryan Blaney, the 2023 Cup Series champion, started on pole position for the second time in 2025 and a 12th time overall, after he clocked in a pole-winning lap at 122.568 miles per hour in 71.960 seconds. The competitor whom Blaney shared the front wheel with and knocked off pole position was Shane van Gisbergen, the latter of whom clocked in his fastest qualifying lap at 122.512 miles per hour in 71.993 seconds. Sunday's event at Watkins Glen was divided into 3 stage periods for a scheduled total of 90 laps. The first stage period spanned through the event's first 20 laps. Throughout the first stage period, only a single lead change occurred as 2 different competitors led and no cautions occurred. Blaney, who fended off van Gisbergen through the opening turns and led the first lap from pole position, led the first 18 laps before he made a strategic green flag pit stop the lap after. By then, most of the field, including van Gisbergen, opted to strategically pit their respective entries in the closing laps of the first stage period. The pit actions were made to gain any on-track advantage for the upcoming second stage period. Meanwhile, Chris Buescher, the reigning Watkins Glen Cup winner, was among a handful who opted to remain on the track, with the latter pursuing critical stage points towards his bid to make the 2025 Cup Series playoffs. Buescher proceeded to lead the final 2 laps of the first stage period before he captured the stage victory. As a result, he was awarded 10 stage points and was awarded his second stage victory overall of the 2025 season. Notably, within the first stage period, Kyle Larson, the 2021 Cup Series champion and 2-time Watkins Glen winner, encountered early on-track issues when he spun entering the first turn from 24th place after reporting no brakes to his entry. The braking issues were enough to terminate Larson's bid to contend for the victory as he took his car to the garage for further diagnosis. And despite finishing the event, he settled at the tail end of the field in 39th place and was 15 laps behind the lead lap field. The event's second stage period spanned 17 laps, from laps 24 to 40. During the stage period, there were 3 lead changes that occurred as 3 different leaders led at least a lap. Compared to the first stage period, this stage featured a single caution that occurred on lap 28 due to debris that was spotted in turn 5. The debris was remnants from an on-track incident that occurred a lap earlier when Josh Berry wrecked from 23rd place. Berry's incident occurred after he was bumped into by Ty Dillon as Berry was approaching Chase Elliott at a faster pace entering the turn, while Elliott was struggling to maintain pace on worn tires. As a result, Dillon's contact got Berry sideways before the latter veered to the left and was hit by Zane Smith before he proceeded to spin, hit the wall, and damage his entry. Despite continuing, Berry proceeded to finish in 35th place in the final running order. Shifting the attention back to the front of the field, Ryan Preece assumed the lead from his teammate Buescher at the start of the second stage period, but the former could only maintain the lead through 5 turns before van Gisbergen assumed it for the first time prior to lap 25. Van Gisbergen proceeded to lead through lap 36 before he opted to strategically pit under green a lap later. By then, most of the field, had strategically pitted their respective entries. But compared to the first stage period, Blaney opted to remain on the track and muscle his way to the second stage period victory, which in turn marked his sixth stage victory of the year. Blaney's stage victory occurred at the time when John Hunter Nemechek, who made contact with his teammate at Legacy Motor Club, Eric Jones, entering the SS, wrecked hard against the tire barriers in turn 5 amid contact with Toyota teammate Ty Gibbs. Nemechek proceeded to finish in 32nd place, one spot ahead of Gibbs, while Jones rallied to settle in 12th place. The third and final stage period spanned 47 laps, laps 44 to 90, and featured a total of 4 lead changes for 4 different leaders. Like the first stage period, it featured no cautions, even as a pair of on-track incidents occurred in the early segments of the stage. A lap after the final stage period commenced, former teammates Kyle Busch and Denny Hamlin collided in turn 7 after Hamlin, who was pinned in a 3-wide battle with Busch and Ross Chastain for 12th place, clipped the right rear area of Busch's entry and got the latter sliding sideways due to turn. While spinning sideways, Busch would then get by Hamlin again, this time towards the right front area as Hamlin was trying to avoid Busch's entry. This in turn allowed Busch to straighten his entry, but both made repeated contacts against one another while proceeding forward. The contact in turn caused the rest of the field to jumble up and scatter. With 39 laps remaining, Carson Hocevar spun in turn 1 after he received contact from teammate Michael McDowell, but the former was able to refire his entry and proceed without further contact. Amid the incidents, green flag pit strategies continued to be the theme of the event amongst the field. Starting with nearly 35 laps remaining, the pit window for final pit stops that would enable competitors to reach the scheduled distance on the current fuel tank went into full swing as the competitors pitted in fragments. Meanwhile, Van Gisbergen, who navigated his way back to the lead with 37 laps remaining, made his final pit stop with 28 laps remaining. He then spent the next 12 laps both methodically carving his way back up the leaderboard while waiting for the competitors in front of him to peel off and pit. Once Brad Keselowski surrendered the lead to pit with 17 laps remaining, the lead was all back in the hands of Van Gisbergen. For the event's remainder, Van Gisbergen methodically stretched his lead that reached double digits at the start of the final lap. He then proceeded to claim the checkered flag with an advantage of more than 11 seconds. With the victory, Van Gisbergen notched his unprecedented 4th consecutive win on road course events, with Watkins Glen joining Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez, the Chicago Street Course, and Sonoma Raceway as road course venues to which he has achieved a victory throughout the 2025 season. Van Gisbergen's victory, which was also his 4th of the 2025 season, was one that also etched a new record to the NASCAR history books, as he achieved the most victories for a Cup Series rookie candidate to a season at 4. The previous record was 3 that was set by Tony Stewart in 1999 and Jimmy Johnson in 2002. As additional bonuses, Van Gisbergen, who notched his 5th Cup Series career victory, became the 27th competitor to win at Watkins Glen, the first foreign-born competitor to achieve the feat at the track since Marco Zambros won in 2012, and he recorded the 80th victory for the number 88. The victory occurred 2 days after Van Gisbergen inked a multi-year contract extension to continue to drive the number 88 entry for Trackhouse Racing. Here are the full race results of today's Go Bowling at the Glen. Notably behind Van Gisbergen, Christopher Bell overtook Chris Buescher on the final lap to claim the runner-up result, while William Byron and Chase Briscoe finished in the top 5. Ryan Blaney, who led the second most laps at 35, ended up in 6th place ahead of top 10 finishers Daniel Suarez, Bubba Wallace, Tyler Reddick, and Ross Chastain. Following their late incidents during the final stage period, Carson Hocevar, Kyle Busch, and Denny Hamlin finished 18th, 22nd, and 25th respectively, while Brad Keselowski, who was poised for a top 15 run before he made an unscheduled green flag pit stop to address a flat left rear tire with 6 laps remaining, ended up in 31st place. Here in the race results, the drivers with 1 asterisk indicate that they recorded stage points in at least one of the event's first 2 stages, while the drivers with 2 indicate that they recorded points in both stages. Next, here is the projected outlook of the 2025 Cup Series playoff standings with 2 regular season events remaining. The competitors with a single asterisk indicate that they are currently guaranteed spots to the playoffs by virtue of winning throughout the regular season stretch. Notably, William Byron, who is ranked in 5th place, is currently leading the regular season standings by points. Towards the bottom of the standings, Tyler Reddick, Alex Bowman, and Chris Buescher occupy the remaining 3 vacant spots to the playoffs by virtue of points. By winning the first stage period and finishing in 3rd place, Buescher slightly grew his advantage from 23 to 34 over teammate Ryan Preece in the cut line, despite Preece's decent event in recording a combined 9 stage points and settling in 13th place on the track at the Glen. Everyone else below, starting from 18th place Kyle Busch, now trail the playoff cut line by triple digits. Overall, the 2025 Go Bowling at the Glen had 8 lead changes for 6 different leaders and 3 cautions for 8 laps. While all 39 starters finished the event, 35 finished on the lead lap. Sunday's Cup Series action capped off an eventful quadruple header weekend at the Glen, which started on Friday when 15-year-old Tristan McGee, a development driver for Spire Motorsports, triumphed in his ARCA Menard Series debut following a 1-lap shootout to the finish. Hours later, Corey Heim, the 2025 Craftsman Truck Series regular season champion, persevered through 3 overtime shootouts and a late challenge from Daniel Hemrick amid fuel concerns to claim his 6th truck victory of the 2025 season. Then on Saturday, Connor Zillage rallied from making contact and wrecking teammate Shane van Gisbergen while battling for the lead with 18 laps remaining to win the Xfinity Series event at the Glen for a 2nd consecutive season. Zillage's win, however, was marred with a harrowing incident during the victory lane celebrations that involved the driver slipping from his car's door ledge and falling head-on to the ground. After being transported to a local hospital for further evaluation, Zillage took to social media at 9:19 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Saturday night to reveal that despite suffering a broken collarbone from his fall, his CT head scans results were clear and that he had left the hospital while he continues to recover. As a result, Zillage and Trackhouse Racing, the team which Zillage is signed as a development driver and competes on a part-time Cup Series basis, withdrew from Sunday's event at the Glen. Next weekend, the Xfinity Series will not compete due to an off-weekend period, but they will return to action on August 22nd at Daytona International Speedway for the Wawa 250. Meanwhile, the Craftsman Truck Series returns to action next Friday, August 15th at Richmond Raceway in Richmond, Virginia for the Euro 250. This event will serve as the 18th and final regular season event of the 2025 season before the series playoffs spanning 7 races commences. The event's coverage is slated to commence at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on FS1, NASCAR Racing Network, and SiriusXM. The Cup Series will follow suit the following day on Saturday, August 16th at Richmond for the Cookout 400. This event will not only serve as the 25th event of the 2025 season, but also the penultimate regular season event of the year as the series playoffs looms. The event's coverage is scheduled to commence at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on USA Network, MRN Radio, SiriusXM, and HBO Max. That's all for this episode. Have a great rest of your evening, and see you on the next episode of Retro Motor Vibes.